Hi everyone, it's Tracy and I'm part of the Tiny Pandora design team, and today I'm going to show you the UV brush on resin from Tiny Pandora and the Lisa Palvecca, you never can get that right, UV resin too, but this one isn't a brush on. So I'm going to show you the difference, what you can do with them, and I'm also going to show you a couple of pieces which I did probably a good 3 years ago now, and how they look now, and they look absolutely wonderful still, of course. So you just need to bear with me because I'm using my laptop now to try and film these because it's a little bit easier than using my phone. So I'm just going to move this down, and I just hope that you can actually see everything and I'm not just talking to nobody, so or showing you nothing, I should say. So bear with me. I will try and cut this part out so you don't have to see it go, a bit like seasickness. So 2 seconds. Okay, so there we go. I hope you can't see the horrible clips. I don't think you can, fortunately, because I bought this lovely new stand, but it's a little bit precarious, so I'm having to use, I've been out at my husband's workshop, to tell the truth. He's not here, so he won't know. Anyway, let's get back to it. So these two, this one's brush on, this one isn't. A lot of people think they can brush on with this, and if you can, fantastic. I've not been able to, and they both have their purposes. You can use them both together, so that's really helpful. But what's great about the brush on is you can use it on a curved surface, which is really useful. So if you want that instant really good shine, then I recommend this one totally. And obviously you can get them both from tinypandora.com. So I've poured a very small amount out into a little top, and I'm going to use my wonderful brushes that also come from Tiny Pandora, and I've treated myself to the new ones because I just thought they might match my nails actually. But I do love these brushes, and believe you me, if you're going to do anything like this, then you need to have a good brush to do it with, and I can highly recommend these. So the first piece I'm going to show you, actually before I do that, I'm just going to show you the 2 pieces that I did do. So these are 2 pieces that I did. This one is a good 3 years ago, probably even a bit more now. I did the back and I did the front, obviously. This one I just did the front, and it is literally as good as new. And I use this in my desk at work, or I say my desk, my workbench at work, and it just holds in paper clips and pins and all sorts of things in there. So that has just been an absolute, well, like I say, it just still looks new. The same with this little thing. This one is actually on display at work, not for any particular glorious reason or anything like that, but we're just trying to promote and try and do some polymer clay classes, but not everyone's into polymer clay, don't know why, but there you go. So that's to show you that this stuff does last, and that is the brush on one from Tiny Pandora. So let's have a play and I can show you the different things that it can do. So here I've just got 2 simple shapes, painted them on the back, and I've literally, they've got some texture, so they've got some indentation parts, and I just want to highlight these areas. Just think it'd be fun. So you need to, with your brush, you really are just dipping it in. You don't want to soak it, you don't want lots on there, you just want a very small amount. And then all I'm going to do is literally just lay it on. I'm not really, the brush is just a tool in the sense of I'm not brushing it on, I'm just going to lay it on. And I just want to touch little parts of it so as those little bits are highlighted. And you don't need a lot, just want to put it on so as it just, and sometimes it just pays to let it sit, just to let it settle. And I would also recommend you have your UV lamp, which would help if I turned it on. So again, I'm going to have to scrabble around underneath here, and I do apologise. Did I turn it on? Maybe I didn't. There we go. Just turn your UV lamp on, and I have the 36 watt, which does work a lot better, I think, than the lesser wattage ones, because it works a bit quicker. And when you're only using the brush on, you're only putting very thin amounts on at any one time. So it really doesn't need to be under there for very long at all. So I'm just letting this sit on top. I'm just making sure I'm getting it down in little bits on these textures. I just wanted to highlight these areas. I just think it would look quite interesting and quite fun for a pair of earrings. So That's all I'm going to do. It's really not a thick layer because that's not what the brush on resin is about. The brush on resin is to give it a coating just like a varnish. You just apply it slightly differently really. It's less real brush strokes, although even with the varnish you shouldn't really give it too much of a brush stroke because that's where you can leave the marks on there. Now I'm not going to worry too much about those two end ones because we can do those after it's cured, but it's just to show you the difference you can make by using something like this. Now yes, you could argue that I could have used the Lisa Palvecca, but it does tend to pull away, and there's a little tip and a trick with that our wonderful Teresa showed us. So I'm just going to pop this under the lamp, and I should have got my little tray, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Next piece I'm going to show you is a bead, and this is just a Natasha bead, and the reason I want to show this is because it's got, oops daisy, don't lose it, that is. The reason I want to show you this is because it's got a curve, and I want to be able to show you how you can actually use the brush on to your advantage. Now I would recommend you probably stick it onto something before you put it in there, but all I'm going to do is just use probably my little pin tool just so as I can hold it, and I'll just have to stick it underneath the lamp. I'm only going to do one side to show you how easy this is. Now I really have got a very small amount on my brush, and that is really what is important here. It's not about pushing your brush in and getting lots on there. It really is about taking a very small amount, and it's just about laying it. It's not about really brushing it, it's just about laying it, and it's not a thick coat at all. Doesn't matter if you have to put another coat on if that's what you need to do. Sometimes you may find that there's a little bit of bubbling, looks like there's a little bit of air bubbles. Don't worry about those. You can sand them and you can go over it. It's not ruined it, it's not done anything like that, so you can just apply it again. But it's just so nice to have something like this. It gives a really good shine and very hard wearing. Like I say, my pieces that I've done, and I've got a couple of pieces which I've made into keychains, and again absolutely no issue whatsoever. It really is a hard wearing material. So all I'm going to do with that is just let that settle just for a second, just to see whether I get any kind of air bubbles or anything like that. And if I do, I'm not going to worry about it because I can either put another coat on or just give it a little sand off. So I'm just going to sit that to one side, and I now want to show you, this is just another piece, a couple of ends of piece of cane. I just want to show you what you can do with the Lisa Palvecca. So I want to actually give a bit of a doming effect on here, but ideally I don't want it pulling back. So the easiest way to achieve that is by just putting a very small rim around the side, and you literally just have to let this come out very gently and just run a very small amount around the edge. That way all you're doing is allowing it to settle there, and then when you fill it in you don't get that pulling back. So it really works, and takes just a little bit of patience because you don't want to put too much on, and you may find again that you will get some bubbles, and it does pay with the Lisa Palvecca to if you can sort of stand it up in like a little teacup or something like that, just so as you'll constantly the bubbles, alleviates the amount of bubbles. So, and then all I will do is just get my little torch, if I can find it, and see if I can alleviate the bubbles. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a, so if there is any little bubbles there, hopefully that takes them away. And I might, with my little, need another little tool. This is an etch and pearl. I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting it right to the edge that I want it to, and it's nice and even. And once you've done this part, it really is quite easy. Then you can literally just fill in the middle and you get an absolutely wonderful effect. And then that's all I'm going to do, is just make sure I draw it in a little bit so we haven't got uneven edges. And then this piece will also go under the lamp, and this will take slightly longer. I would give it at least 5 minutes for this before you attempt to put any more on it, just so as it's just because it's a bit thicker. So that can go under. We'll bring this one back out. Yep, and that's nice and dry. So now, because now that's, you hear that? Lovely. So that's just picked up. I don't know how well you can see it. I'll see if I can turn a bit of light on here. See if that makes any difference. I hope it does, and I hope it hasn't ruined this. So you can see whether it's, you know, it just picks up a little bit of a shine, which I just think makes all the difference. I'm just going to do those last two end bits, just so as I can finish this one off. And it really is as simple as that. And how effective does that look? I think that looks really pretty. I might actually keep these for myself, she says, hopefully. Okay, so that can go back under there. I'm just going to take this and have a little look at this again and just see whether I've got any little bubbles, and I'll see whether I can't do anything with it with my little torch. If I can't, then I will probably end up sanding and just giving it another coat. I'm just going to pop that underneath too. And it's really just about, like I say, just being very, very gentle with your brushes. Now, there's all sorts of things you can do. I've even got this little rose here, which was just some scrap clay, as you can see, brown, because mine normally is. And I just literally put it into a mould, and it was actually a mould that was a cake mould, or I should say cake mould. It was to do with the icing. A friend had given it to me, and I hadn't really used it, so I just thought I'd give it a try, and actually it's come out quite nice. And I've just done it with some alcohol inks, so I'm just going to actually see what this looks like if I want to give this a little bit of a gleam or shine. Just see how that'll work. And something as simple as this with some scrap clay, and you can embellish a little notebook. So don't ever get rid of your scrap clay. I'm just going to give that a nice little coat there. And I mean, you really, really are not using hardly any of this deep shine. I mean, it's such a minimal amount. I'll be putting some of this back. So, you know, these little pots, at first you think to yourself, well, that's not going to go very far. But believe you me, it does. So, and if you want something, you know, like I say, you want the doming effect, then the Lisa Polvecca is really, really good for that. And I'll show you the piece that I've done where I've put the little edge on it, and I can show you how you can then use the brush on the actual sides. So it really does work very well. But something like this, just a little bit, gives it that little bit of gloss. Obviously you can use varnish if you want to. I just think this is probably a little bit more robust. And if you were to put it on something like a notebook, then it would probably last a little bit longer. But it's entirely up to you what look you want. I do know now that Tiny Pandora is also doing wonderful matte varnish. So that's great, and that's brilliant if you're silk screening anything and you just want that matte look. It's a great varnish, and it can actually be baked as well, so that's even better. So that's what I'm going to do for a minute on that one. Just make sure I'm getting all the edges here. Don't leave anything out. And I've literally just dabbed it on there, and that's just giving that a nice little sheen. And then I'll have a look and see if I want to do anything to there. So there we go. Just pop that under. I have no idea how that's going to work. It may not work at all. I may be a bit ambitious with it being. So there we go. A couple of minutes. Rock hard. So I've now got a nice little thing that's going to give a nice little glint. You know, it catches the light, and you're just going to see the little sparkly bits in there just that little bit better. So I'll turn those into a pair of earrings and I'll do this other one shortly. So let's just see how this has gone. So there we go, here's our curved bead. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? I mean, you can't get that sort of shine, so I'm really pleased with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'll obviously carry on, I'll do the other 4 sides, but that is just, I love it. Let's get this back under there. Let's just see how that's going. Another couple of minutes for that. Just noticed that I've actually got a little bit of green on here, and that's probably the ink. So hopefully I can get rid of that. Yes, I can see that's going to come off, so that's all right. So that just goes to show how great these brushes are. I love them. And like I say, they come, I think they come in packs of 6, I think, or something like that. But there's 3 different sizes, and I think they're $12 for the, $12 for the 3. And that's I mean, that's amazing for, you know, brushes that are as good as these. I love them. I have a few, and I treat myself to the new one now and again. So, okay, let's see how we're doing. Ooh, some pretty colours coming out from that one. Okay, so there we go. I'm quite happy with that. So all we have to do now is, again, with the Lisa Parveca one, I'm just going to infill. So I'm literally, in that way, I haven't got to worry about it pulling. I will use a little needle tool. Have I still got my little tool? Oh yes, I have. I did actually get one of these little, it's like a little acrylic wad. I don't know whether Teresa still has them, but they came with some of the Lisa Parveca ones. So I'm just going to put a little bit, and you will get bubbles, so please don't worry. Again, use a torch. It's always handy to have one, and you can get rid of those quite easily. So all I'm going to do is just move this around, make sure it gets to the edge, because you do need to go over that, but it won't run over, don't worry, won't run over. I'm just going to bring that out and make sure everything comes up to the edge. And you can be a little bit more, how can I say it, a little bit more forceful with the Lisa Parveca one. You don't have to be quite so gentle. And if you find that you haven't quite got enough, put a bit more on. But what's really good is once you've done and you've got it over to those, right over to the edge, I think that just needs a little bit more. Just get the cloth, a little bit more out of here. There we go. And it really is, it's just practice. And you know what's really good about, as we all as clayers know, we all have scrap clay at some point, whether it's really nice scrap clay, which is the sort of stuff that I would really like, or whether it's a browny, grey, yucky colour. What does that matter? It doesn't matter at all. Practice with it. These things, you know, just make yourself, cut out some shapes, make something, dome it, put it onto a bowl, and make 2 or 3 different pieces and just have a go, because it doesn't, you don't have to use a lot of the product. It's not, you're not wasting it, but it will give you an idea of how to move the resin around, and you'll get so used to seeing when it's ready and when you can stop fettling it, like I always do, and you'll just get used to the feel of the stuff, because you know the 24-hour, 48-hour resin, well, it's about 48 hours, isn't it? I mean, that's a wonderful product, don't get me wrong, and I think it's a, you know, some of the things that people produce with that is absolutely fantastic, but it does take that time, you know, and if you're into that, that's fine, and you're used to it. But if you want that instant look, you know, you're someone that makes earrings, and sometimes you want to make that polished, really bright shine, then you can't fault this stuff. It's just so good and so handy to have. And you know, yes, again, it's a little pot, but you don't need very much. So I'm just going to see whether this is a few little bubbles in there. I would highly recommend that you get yourself a little torch. Lots of places do them. I mean, crikey, all the usual sites. you can get them from. You can just see where I haven't actually managed to get that there. And there we go. So I think I'm about there with that. We can pull that one under. And I'll show you how I'm going to do the edges with this one in just a moment, once that's been under the lamp. I'm just going to pull this one out. I've got a funny feeling it may not have liked the alcohol ink. No, it seems to have dried, so that's pretty good. So again, got something that was very simple, and it was literally, as you can see by that, yeah, I don't know what colour you call that. Ooh, not very nice. You know, I could just put that on top of something now on a little notebook, and it just embellishes it. And it was just a scrap piece of clay, and all I've done is add some little bit of UV resin. I might put some in the middle, I don't know, I might leave it like that. I might even use some varnish, some matte varnish, and just have the leaves as a piece that come out. So there's no magic apart from the fact that it's absolutely wonderful in the sense that the magic comes with the shine. But there's no secrets, no top secrets in having to put resin on, this UV or brush on resin. You just have to remember that you can brush on with this one, you can't with a Lisa Palvecca. I can't anyway, someone might be able to, but it really is just about very gently applying it. So I think I might even just show you once more how I'm going to do it with this one. And it's just a little bit on your brush. It really isn't very much at all. You don't want to layer it, you know, it really is about just pushing it on there, almost just moving it with the brush. Just dab and just let it glide on there, because we don't want the brush strokes. We really don't want those. And you can very easily put another coat if you wish to. I actually can't remember with my two little dishes whether I did 2 coats or 1 coat. I don't think I did 2 coats. I was so impressed that I just left it like that, and it's absolutely lasted that long length of time, and I can't see why it wouldn't last another 3 years, to be fair. So again, just let it settle. I just find that sometimes if you just let them sit for a minute, and then it just gives it a chance to, you know, because sometimes with beads or things that you've touched a lot, you're going to have a little bit of residue off your fingers, a little bit of grease or whatever. And sometimes it just pays when if you're not going to sand it or anything like that, it's not too bad because you're minimal touching it. When you're sanding it, you've got a lot of dust, and you need to get rid of that before you put anything on. And for that, I would just recommend spraying a bit of alcohol and then just wiping it off with a tissue. And you can do that even if you haven't sanded, and I do find that it really does help to clean that area. Obviously there's some things you can't, like these pieces, I wouldn't want to put any alcohol on those. So that is just a case of, again, but then once you've done something like that, you're not likely to stick your fingers so much in the middle. And again, it's just the residue off your fingers that you may find it reacts, and it sort of like almost resists, and you'll just see it sort of pull back in places. But again, if you've noticed that once it comes out from the UV lamp, just give it a sand down and just apply another coat. It will work, believe me, it will work. So I'm just going to, I think that one's looking okay, so I'm just going to put this one back in. Make sure I get it the right way around. So all these things, like I say, you can get both of them from tinypandora.com, and they are such wonderful products. And they're just, you know, a little addition like that, and this one will last a long time. You can't go wrong with it. I'm actually quite looking forward to making these up now. I think with that little bit of bling, it just works. So let's just see how that's going. And maybe a little bit longer, I don't know. No, I haven't put that on for very long, but as you can see, it's got that lovely shine. Now what you can do now, and the thing to do really, is you can just brush on the side. So you can do the front and the back. So what I'm going to do is just literally take this along the sides, along the edges, and I'm only going to do a little bit at a time because I need to hold it. So I'm just literally guiding that on there. So that way, once it's all done on both sides, I can literally, I can quite literally, sorry, that was my daughter trying to ring me then. I'm just going to put that to one side and put that back in there, so that can now cook. And that's all you would do, is you'd go around the edges and then you would do the other side again. So it's simple. These products are really, really easy to use, and they last a long time. So I'm just going to flip this back up. And if anyone has any questions, let me turn these lights off. Crikey, I must look awful. If anyone has any questions, please ask, and you know, I will answer them. Any queries at all with it, just, you know, far away, because if there's anything you're not sure, you can apply it to. I know you can apply it to pan pastels, you can apply it on top of acrylic paint, obviously on silk screens, which is the acrylic paint, if that's what you use. I have actually used it on top of mica powder as well. I have made sure that the mica powder has actually gone into the clay quite well before I've done that, but because you're using such a really sort of gentle stroke, then I found that I can actually do it without the mica moving around too much. So have a go, have some fun. It's a good product and I highly recommend it. So I shall see you again soon. Take care everyone, bye.